Hey guys, excuse me, I'm coughing. This is the second part of homework 6. My apologies for not uploading it earlier, but the video was kind of long and time was of essence. So as you can see right now, we have number 21 given up to us. So my apologies for all the side notes. So we got homework 6 and this one because I've done it multiple times. So this part right here is the actual equation. So you have x over x plus 1 minus 2 over 1 equals 6x plus 5. So you got a lot going on with the fraction part, which sometimes we like, sometimes we don't like. But the ultimate goal is for us to actually try our best. I'm trying to maximize this, guys, so everybody can see it. Alright, here we go. So nothing changed on your end, hopefully. But anyway, what we're trying to do is combine like terms with the least common denominator. So notice how we got x plus 1 and 1 both at the bottom. So if you multiplied those two, you would still get x plus 1. And now we're going to cross multiply. So if you were to cross multiply, and you hear a lot of noise in the background, so my apologies. So we're going to do cross multiplication. So x times 1 gives you the x. And then 2 times x plus 1 gives you the minus. There's the minus in front of that. So that'd be the 2x. And remember, that's a negative 2. So negative 2 times 1 gives you that 2. So that's what we have across the top. So we have combined the least common denominator, which is stated right here. Bring down the 6 over x minus 5. So now we got to do a little bit more. We still have to cross multiply. So right here, what I did was combine my like terms. So we got 1x minus 2x, which gives you the negative x. So that's where it's simplified right here. Now we're still going to cross multiply some more. So now we got negative x minus 2 times x minus 5. And then we got 6 times x plus 1. So 6 times x gives you 6x. And then 6 times 1 gives you 6. So that's that part right here. Now over here, where it gets a little kind of confusing, so we're doing for method. So negative x times x gives you negative x squared. Negative x times negative 5, we know that two negatives give you a positive, so that's positive 5x. Then we have negative 2 times x, which is your negative 2x right here. Then negative 2 times negative 5, again, two negatives give you a positive, that's a positive 10. We can simplify with these two middle terms right here. So 5 minus 2 gives you the 3, and you bring down your negative x squared and bring down your 10. So now we still got a little more to go. What I did was subtract or combine your like terms right here. So you can't see that right here. So let me do that part right here. So let me go up. We're going to have negative 6x squared because that has nothing to do with anything. When you do 3 minus 6x, because we're trying to bring everything on the same side of the equal sign, that's where the negative 3x came from. And then 10 minus 6 gave you the 4. So what I'm doing is rewriting it so you can see how I set it up. So that's where that part came from this right here. Now that I have that, I'm going to have negative x squared minus 3x plus 4. I can factor out that negative 1 right here. Once I factor it out, all my signs change. So now once I take the negative out, I have x squared plus 3x minus 4. Well, I can break this one down even further by factoring them. So this step is factoring. Once I factor it into two binomials, I'm looking at my last term, look at your middle term. What are the factors of 4? So you got 4 and 1. And then look at your middle term, look at the sign. That makes the 4 positive and the 1 negative. The reason why it has to be negative, because that's negative. And you see where your two x's are. But wait, there's more. I'm sorry for all of it. Noise. You can do this another way. And what I mean by another way, because I'm not looking at the problem. Since this is your final answer, you can make x equal negative 4, depending on what it's asking for, or x can equals positive 1. Now what I did was subtract 4 from both sides and then add 1 to both sides. So we're still moving right along. Here's another example from homework 6. So I wrote it as a proportion. So this would be the ideal time for you to pause and actually read the problem because it's a word problem. Well, one of the first things I did was cross multiply. So that's where that came from right here. So once you cross multiply, you have 4m, and then 3 times 9,450 gave you 28,350, and then you had the 3m. I added 3 to both sides to get that 7. So now I have 7m and 28,350. I divided both sides by 7. So m gave me 4,050. Now I got to figure out how in the world did I get L, because you got to go back to the problem, and unfortunately I don't have a hard copy of it, but you can look right here. We know that you had 9,450 minus M. So what I did right here was substitute. So once I discovered what M was, which is right here, substitute it back right there, and then I found out what my females were, which is 5,400. So again, my apologies for the confusion, but this is one of the ones that you probably have to hold up while you're doing the problem. So pause this video and open up that. I have a few more. Notice how all of them are dealing with particular ratios, aka fractions. So here we have 4 plus 12 over t minus 5 equals 12 over t squared minus 5t. Well, one of the first things that I did, I factored out my t. So I factored out my variable because we're trying to eliminate as much as possible. Once I factored out the t right here, I rewrote it as given. Now, because there are fractions, we have to identify what your least common denominator is. We can't do anything without a least common denominator. So if I pay close attention, t minus 5 is right here for that fraction, but over here we got t and t minus 5. So over here, this part right here, I multiplied everything by the t and the t minus 5. So multiply all of that by t and t minus 5. So for the left hand side, we got t times t minus 5, and then 4, then 4 to t. And then right here, they just eliminated because that's the same denominator. So they're gone. Bring down your 12. Check this out now. The t minus 5 also canceled out. So let's distribute the t. So we have t times 4, and then that's the t minus 5. Because that t minus 5 was with that 12, that's why it was canceled out, not with the 4. That's why it's gone, and that t is distributed to that 12. So that's what we got so far. Again, notice where the t minus 5 was. It's with the 12, not with the 4. Now using distributive property, we have 4t times t minus 5, which is gives you t squared. 4t minus 5 gives you the 4t. Bring down your 12t. See if we can simplify anything, and we can, which are these two. So now we got 20t plus 12, which gives us 4t squared minus 8t. Now I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides because I want all my terms on the same side of the equal sign. So notice right here, this is a quadratic equation. So now that I have that quadratic equation, I'm going to try to factor it. So I'm going to use the AC method. And what the AC method is, I know this is going to be A, this is going to be B, this is going to be C. The AC method allows us to group it. So if I'm looking back at the first one, so let me rewrite what we originally had from that previous page. We had 4t squared minus 8t minus 12 equals 0. So here's where your AC method comes in. 12 times 4 gives us 48, but we're looking for something that gives you a product of 48 and gives you a sum of 8. So I wrote down all the factors of 48. So I got 1 and 48, 2 and 24, 3 and 16, 4 and 12, and 6 and 8. So I literally had to use my calculator for this. And right here, I was trying to add and subtract to see what I could get 8. Well, hopefully you'll be able to zoom in on your computer by using the control and plus sign so you can see that. I put a dot right here in 4 and 12 because they were the only ones that gave me that 8. So going back up here now, I'm going to group them. So I split this 8 into the 4 and the 12. That's how I split that 8. So now I have 4t squared plus 4t minus 12 equals negative 12. So these two never change, but the 8 was split in regards to what you want to add or subtract with it. So there again, we got our AC method. Because conveniently we have 4 and 12, I put my 4's together, put my 12's together. Now I'm going to factor. I factored out the 4t right here, which gave you that, so I'm now left with t plus 1. Factor out negative 12 right here. And notice how both of them have t plus 1. So that t plus 1 comes back. Look on the outside of each set of parentheses. You now have 14 minus 12. So now we can separate things. Let each binomial equal 0. So 14 minus 12 equals 0. Add 12 to both sides and divide by 4. So t is 3. And then we have t plus 1 equals 0. Subtract 1 from both sides. T is minus 1. Because we look at numbers from left to right, which is negative to positive, your final solution is going to be negative 1 and 3. Because the negative comes first. So woohoo! We have yet another one pertaining to ratios, irrational expressions. So this right here, we're going to factor out an n. And then right here, we're going to look for the least common denominator. So once I factored out that n on the right hand side, I rewrote everything and then put it in factor form. Then I noticed that all of them have n minus 3 in common, hence the n minus 3, but they also have to have that n that we just factored. So multiply everything by n times n minus 3. Where if we pay close attention, this cancels out. Now why we have to do all of that? Because notice how that 5 over here doesn't have a denominator at all. And then this right here doesn't have that n, it just has n minus 3. Hence, we did the one that had the most terms and multiply everything. So now using the distributive property, we're going to have 5n times n minus 3. Then we're going to have 15n, and these two n minus 3's, because that 15 has it, cancels out. So now we got the 15n. Using distributive property, we got 5n squared minus 15n plus 15n. These two just so happen to cancel out. So now we're left with 5n squared equals 45. Divide both sides by 5. I didn't show you that step earlier. Now I got n squared equals 9. Now remember, the opposite of something being squared is going to be the square root. And square root just so happens to be both positive and negative. So over here now, we have positive, negative, and 3. Because the square root of 9 is 3. So your solution would be negative 3 and positive 3. Here's our last one. Again, this is one of the word problems, and my apologies, I don't actually have the word problem itself. But it was dealing with your inlet if you're filling a pool, I believe. So I had to rewrite this as a table. So you had your inlet 1, inlet 2, and all together. Then we had your time and hours and your rate. So again, this is one of the ones you're going to have to take precious time with it and have them side by side because your numbers are going to vary. So if I know it took me 6 hours, I'm going to rewrite it and have my rate as 1 over 6 because our rate is pertaining in time. Inlet 2, we don't have a clue what that is, so that's going to be our unknown. So again, it's going to be a ratio 1 over 8. Now together, my nose issue. We know we have a total of 3 hours and then 36 minutes. Well, because we're dealing with hours, we know 1 hour is 60 minutes, and that's 36 minutes. So you got 36 over 60 equals 18 over 5. This is given to you. So right here, we're going to flip it, and we're going to have a ratio. Now let's jump down here. Let's figure out what in the world is going on. Well, very similar to what we did earlier. We got to find the least common denominator. So I'm looking at it. 60 is my largest denominator. So I'm going to put everything in terms of 60. So cross multiply right here. So 1 times 60 is 60. 36 times 1 is 36. And then 3 times 60 gives you 180. So far so good. 36 plus 180 gives you 216 over 60. I can simplify that by 12. So now I have the 18 over 5, which is where that came from. Jump over here in regards to your rate. I'm going to have 1/6 plus 1/8 equals 5 over 18. So this step has to come first. Notice how your greatest common denominator is going to be 18, and then you have your x. So multiply everything by 18x. So these cancel out. So now 6 can go into 18 3 times. Bring over your x. 3x times 1 is 3x. Your x's cancel out right here. So 18 times 1 is 18. Your 18's cancel out right here. So now you got x times 5. Now we're going to combine our like terms. So I subtracted 3x from both sides. Bring down your 18, bring down your 2x, and divide both sides now by 2. So your rate for your inlet 2 is going to be 9. So I strongly suggest that you pull up the actual assignment for this for homework 6 and you do it step by step, so you can actually have like 2 videos up. They may not be playing, but you're going to have 2 screens for up. So ladies, gents, thank you. Individuals, thank you. Everyone, thank you for your patience. And that ends part 2 for homework 6.